Hello parents, and welcome to our training on behavior management. Today we will talk about what behavior management is, what are functions of behavior, and how can we replace inappropriate behaviors with more desirable behaviors. An individual's behaviors are influenced by factors within their environment. Factors can include other students, the setup of the class, the pace of the lesson, and the lesson content. Often inappropriate behaviors are occurring because an individual is trying to change something within their environment. Inappropriate behaviors can include noncompliance, off-task behaviors, aggression, and talking out. Behavior management is when proactive and reactive strategies are used to reduce and address problem behaviors in order to increase more desirable behaviors. By increasing desirable behaviors, learning time and productivity will increase. In addition, more desirable behaviors are more socially appropriate. Let's talk about some functions of behavior. A function is the reasoning for why an individual is displaying a behavior. If a learner engages in a behavior and it results in the change that they want, the probability of that behavior increasing and occurring again will be high. Individuals may be displaying behaviors to gain attention, to gain access, escape something, or receive sensory input. Functions of behaviors are very individualized, and what is reinforcing for one learner may not be reinforcing for another. Through a functional behavioral assessment, we typically can determine exactly what a behavior looks like. This assessment determines what time of day a behavior occurs, during what activities, in what settings, with what instructors, and with what peers. We also can determine what antecedents are occurring, what is happening immediately before a behavior, and what consequences are occurring, what happens immediately after a behavior. We also can determine how often a behavior occurs and for how long. This is known as ABC data collection: antecedent, behavior, consequence. It is important to understand the function of a behavior in order to not only address it, but also to assure that we are not accidentally reinforcing misbehavior in the future. Here's a video that you can view at your leisure that provides a visual description of what functions of behaviors are and why they are important to help us understand behavior. Let's look at attention. A learner might engage in behaviors, specifically inappropriate behaviors, in order to seek attention from others, such as their peers or adults. Receiving this attention will increase the future rate or probability of a learner engaging in that behavior again. Examples of attention-seeking behavior are talking out, standing on furniture, and throwing objects. Attention-seeking behaviors are often referred to as acting out behaviors because the learner is trying to get a reaction. Inappropriate behaviors may be displayed because the learner has a lack of language or social skills, which then causes them to interact with others inappropriately. The function of a behavior may be attention if it occurs when someone draws their attention from the learner. A learner might engage in behaviors in order to gain access to an object, activity, or event. Receiving access to something will increase the future rate or probability of the learner engaging in that behavior again. Examples of access-seeking behaviors are participating in an unassigned activity or grabbing an unassigned item. Inappropriate behaviors may be displayed because the learner struggles with waiting for preferred items or activities. The function of a behavior may be access if a behavior stops immediately after the learner is given access to something that they requested or attempted to obtain. A learner might engage in behaviors in order to escape a demand or situation. This can include a task or a social situation. Having the ability to leave something will increase the future rate of the learner engaging in that behavior again. Examples of escape behaviors can include leaving a situation, non-compliance such as not responding, self-injury, and aggression towards others. Inappropriate behaviors may be displayed because something is aversive, unpleasant, or non-preferred by the learner. A learner may also attempt to escape a situation because it is too difficult for them or they are not motivated to participate. The function of a behavior may be escape if a behavior stops occurring immediately after demands are removed from a learner or a learner is removed from a particular situation or activity. A learner might engage in stereotypical behaviors because they enjoy that it stimulates one or more of their internal senses and it feels good to them. Often these behaviors reduce anxiety for learners. Stereotypical behaviors were first described in the 1940s as a central feature of autism. Stereotypical behaviors are motor movements or vocalizations that do not appear to be serving any functional purpose. However, they do provide automatic positive reinforcement to the learner. Examples of sensory behaviors can include humming, hand flapping, slapping ears, flicking fingers, or rocking. Inappropriate behaviors may be displayed because there is too little or too much environmental input being experienced by the learner. This input can be visual, auditory, or physical. Stereotypical behaviors often occur when there is an absence of preferred or structured activities. The function of a behavior may be sensory if a behavior occurs continuously over and over again when the learner is left alone and provided with no demands for an extended period of time. Some behaviors can serve more than one function. A learner may be attempting to gain attention from a peer in order for them to obtain an item. Or a learner may be speaking out and gaining attention from their teacher in order to escape a demand. Lastly, stereotypical behaviors can lead to a decrease in demands or escape from demands, as well as an increase in attention from others. Because behaviors can have multiple functions that are reinforcing and maintaining the behaviors, it is even more important to be sure to conduct functional behavioral assessments in order to determine what exactly those functions are. Now let's talk about replacement behaviors. Replacement behaviors serve the same function of problem behaviors. Strategies are implemented to teach appropriate replacement behaviors to the learner. Oftentimes, these strategies are introduced in behavior intervention plans. Behavior intervention plans attempt to decrease problem behaviors by making them less efficient and effective for extended periods of time. Desired behaviors then increase because they provide reinforcement to the learner. Replacement behaviors can be practiced in different settings and situations in order to assure that generalization occurs. Some examples of replacement behaviors that could be implemented to address attention seeking could include raising one's hand or having predetermined times in the day to speak out or provide input. Instructors would be advised to ignore tolerable attention-seeking behaviors and to provide attention only when appropriate behaviors are being displayed. An example of a proactive strategy that an instructor could implement would be to set a timer to remind themselves to provide attention to a learner. Delayed gratification training could be used to have learners wait for preferred items or activities if they are trying to access them. In other words, the learner would be provided access to something once a task was completed or after a predetermined amount of time has passed. Functional communication training could also be used to teach learners to appropriately request or demand items. Examples of proactive strategies that instructors can implement to address access-seeking behaviors can include positioning preferred items so that they are not accessible, scheduling times where access to preferred items are available, using preferred items as reinforcement, and incorporating preferences into instruction. Instructors would want to be sure to provide access to items and activities only when appropriate behaviors were being displayed. An example of replacement behavior that could be implemented to address escape-seeking behaviors would be functional communication training to appropriately request a break or to request help from an adult when assigned a difficult task. This can be done through a verbal request, sign language, a break card, or the use of a communication device. Examples of proactive strategies that instructors can implement to address escape-seeking behaviors can include providing choices, breaking tasks into smaller steps, pre-warning of aversive experiences, and having times that non-preferred tasks are removed. Instructors should also assess the environmental variables and instructional demands to be sure that they are appropriate for the learner. For example, are they too hard, too boring? Is the classroom setting too loud? Demand fading could also be used to remove all instructional demands and then gradually reintroduce them until the learner's tolerance is increased. Examples of replacement behaviors that could be implemented to address sensory-based behaviors could include putting hands in pockets rather than hand flapping, dribbling a basketball instead of flicking fingers, squishing Play-Doh instead of pinching, and chewing gum instead of eating non-edibles. Examples of proactive strategies that instructors could implement to address sensory-based behaviors could include response blocking, incorporating a pre-scheduled sensor diet, and implementing movement breaks. In addition, some other sensory-based activities could be embedded into a daily routine, such as listening to music and playing a video game. Learners can have predetermined times to engage in stereotypical behaviors. This can include incentive breaks or any breaks from instruction. During other times, when a learner presents stereotypical behaviors, the instructor should try to restrict access to the behavior by providing partial physical prompting to redirect learners to more socially and functionally appropriate behaviors. When the consequences provided after a behavior occur reduce the probability of the inappropriate behavior reoccurring in the future, this is known as punishment. There is positive punishment when something is added or provided to the learner and the behavior decreases, and there is negative punishment when something is removed or taken away from the learner and the behavior decreases. Examples of punishment procedures can include response costs, where we remove tokens from a reward chart, positive practice, where we make the learner fix what they did incorrectly, overcorrection, physical blocking, and timeout. The timeout procedure, however, should not be used to address escape behaviors, as the learner is already trying to be removed from the non-preferred activity. Extinction is when reinforcement is removed. For example, escape extinction occurs when an instructor continues to present an aversive activity, such as an instructional task, but they eliminate the possibility of the learner being able to escape from that activity. An extinction burst is when an inappropriate behavior drastically increases rapidly because the reinforcement is removed. This is especially observed when a learner has a history of being reinforced for that particular behavior. Here's a video that you can view at your leisure that models what an extinction burst looks like and how we should react to it. Thank you for viewing our presentation today and attending our training on behavior management. We hope it helped you. Please be sure to contact us with any additional questions you may have.